Good morning, good evening, everyone, from wherever you are taking this call from, right? So today's session, it's more around this topic of, I would say one of the, whether you want to call it the hot topic or, the hype cycle which is going around with generative AI and all the the funfair about with ChatGPT, OpenAI, and all that. I mean, it's not just OpenAI these days. There are plenty of other vendor, the LLMs have come up. So, what we are going to focus on today, it's more around leveraging this particular technology around generative AI for a specific problem, which is around customer service, right? So I'm Shivaram Parameswaran, and I'm one of the co-founders of this company. We specialize. We are part of the Dialing Digital family, and what we do, we specialize more on conversational AI. Including voice, natural language processing, and all that. And of late, we've been implementing solutions around generative AI. So what the way, I mean, it might take little over 60 minutes. I would split it into maybe three sections. One, just to set some context, especially for people who are not familiar with generative AI, I'll just set some context around, what is this technology and how or why is this being, of all the use cases, of all the possibilities, that are being discussed with generative AI, why customer service sounds that much more appealing. And then, I will talk about few problem spaces, use cases, what we have implemented and all that, right? So that is the first section. The second one, I will specifically talk about, one of our low code platform, which leverages generative AI, or anyone who really wants to build a solution for customer service. And then, and how do you do that? And how does this particular platform help? I'll talk about that. And along with that, I mean, it's more than the slides and then I'll show you quite a few demos on around different use cases covering maybe, how much of a time that permits. Um, Maybe, few industries, few use cases, I'll just talk about it, including the different elements of our low code platform and why each one of them serve the purpose, for what it's built and all that. So that is the whole agenda. See, as I said, perhaps, I'll try to wrap it up 60 to 70 minutes. And so here we go. Right. So before we even get into generative AI, I'm sure most of us would have experienced this particular technology around conversational AI. I mean, in the form of this chatbot, which almost exists in every website that exists today, right? So it's basically the conversational AI. It's basically the technology which helps us communicate, or rather, get things done or get questions answered in simple English constructs. I mean, or including multilingual. I mean, why not just English, right? So it's basically it is a language interface. It gives you the ability to communicate in both voice and text. So there is on the right side of it, if you really focus, on it, right? I think that is one definition from Gartner, which basically says, I think while there are plenty of applications of chatbot today, what is really happening is as the sophistication increases, including the sophistication, which we're going to talk about today, with generative AI, I think the capabilities of this chatbot experience, I think that is what we're really seeing being significantly, different. And then, that being enhanced with LLMs and generative AI and all that, that is really helping many of the industries, many of the early adopters, to solve, or rather, to solve these problem around customer service, or how do they even provide better service, for the customers with generative AI, right? So that is the context, or rather the genesis of it, right? So now from there, if we're really getting into what exactly is generative AI, so it's again, it's a bunch of algorithms around, natural language processing. The thing is, if for people, I mean, there is a lot of talk around, what are LLMs, and then, say including ChatGPT and all that. Basically, all they do is they are machine learning models, trained on very, very large volume of data. They keep talking about billions of tokens, on which they are, trained on. Basically, when you ask a question, when this machine learning model is trained on this, so much amount, such a huge volume of data, when you ask a question, it now has an ability to respond back from those tokens. Basically, it is able to construct a response, or rather, that's why this term, even quote unquote generative, comes into picture, because it is able to generate a response, a meaningful response from all the tokens or all the information or the data, that it's been trained on, right? So that's what is, it's creating all the buzz around, chat gpt and OpenAI and all that. And again, I have another illustration there from Gartner. If you really look at it, of all the stuff, I mean, you can see that, how the chatbot related technology has really matured. And then, now, definitely this technology around generative AI is really, helping it take it to the next level. When you have the typical chatbot experience that much better, and then, how it could really be used to solve some of the customer service related use cases in a much, much better way, right? So I also tried to showcase, I mean, just to contrast, if you take the chatbot experience of today versus how generative AI really amplifies this, or rather, makes it better, right? So if you really look at it, and then, there is also one of the reason behind the frustrations of chatbot. I mean, mostly it is transactional, or very, very, they are trained on a very small corpus of data. They respond back in Q&As, and most of the time, you have this experience around the response not being that good, or rather, it has a very limited way of, responding anything which it cannot. It says either I don't know, or, we will get back to you. Those kind of standard responses doesn't add, or rather, doesn't contribute to a good user experience, right? I think that's where the generative AI is now coming into picture. I mean, because of, if you take some of these, generative AI providers, whether it is ChatGPT or anything else, right? They are just trained on a very, very large corpus of data. So now, you have an ability to ask free format questions, and the responses that comes out are more, I'm sure, all of you are, would have experienced ChatGPT output in some way. I think, you can see that the quality of the response is more English like. It is really getting generated, including the animation which you see there, when it produces a response. So it's kind of because of this large volume, and then, and of data, as well as the technology around LLMs, right? I think that's what really makes it that much powerful, in the sense it is able to provide answers which are more English-like, and from a very, very large corpus of content. Now, the question is, how does this, technology around generative AI could really help me for my own specific use case? I could be running a, bank. I could be running an insurance platform, or, my own e-commerce site. How would this technology really help me, provide a better service for, my customer service and all that, right? I think that's what, we'll just really talk about in the subsequent slides, right? So again, in customer service, what exactly is it? It's basically integrating AI in customer service operations to analyze and generate appropriate. Basically, the way your customers could be reaching out to you today, either through a 1-800 number, or, in the chatbot interface, or sending an email and all that. So there are various vehicles or various mediums, through which, we provide this service. How could we integrate generative AI capabilities on these, medium, to provide better customer service? At the same time, it's not just about providing better service. Ultimately, how does this really help our company as a whole, towards achieving some of the bottom line gains? Does it really help me make more productive? Does it help me do more with less? How does it really help us? Does it really help me improve my quality of service and all that, right? I think those are some of the the fundamental bottom line gains which you get today, including I've just highlighted a few there: 24/7 availability, the first level of support, automating repeated answers. If customers are calling us for the same set of questions, can technology provide that answer instead of human sitting and doing it, right? So now, again, so that's what I've kind of tried to summarize it on this slide. If you really look at, how much of this customer service today, which is being provided by humans, can it really be done in a better way, or can a portion of it be given as a self-service to our customers, so that when they come to our website or when they call a 1-800 number, can this technology be used to answer those questions, right? I think there are a lot of use cases around, including we have seen that with many of our customers as well in terms of those interests. People are seeing some significant outcomes. The outcome is more towards the productivity. Whatever that was taking X amount of minutes or certain amount of time, now really these technologies really helping people to do that in a better way, or rather, in a faster way and all that, right? So, if you really have to summarize the business value gains, I think we can just at a very high level into these four major categories: improving operational efficiency, augmenting human capabilities. One thing which I can definitely talk about it for software engineers, right? The way we have been writing code today, definitely there are this particular technology is helping us in so many different ways. You just throw a problem, it is able to come back with an answer. Some time back, there was even news about a virtual software engineer, which is able to produce an application, using generative AI and all that. So definitely, the outcomes around augmenting human capability, that is one of the significant things which people are experiencing. It's one is towards use cases like software engineering and all that, including another area, it's around the content generation, for it to create some articles and all that. So definitely, there are underlying concerns, but at the same time, people have started using this, to get things done faster and all that, and personalizing user experience, creating new content, which I just mentioned about, right? So if you really look at it, there are like two major areas. One is user productivity, how it really helps us do more with less, and the one is, of course, the revenue potential. It's still, it's happening in few areas, but I would say, eventually that's where it will lead to. But today, most of the use cases or most of the derived outcome are around, user productivity, right? So this is again another visual from Gartner, right? So in terms of where is this industry, especially in the beginning of last year, when this technology really became prominent, when ChatGPT came out in the open, right? Where are companies really using these? There is a graph which says you can see in really significant portion of it, close to 40%, it is being used for to improve customer experience, and even though there is a small, not small, relatively, 26% around revenue growth and all that, the significant use cases, or where this particular technology is applied today across many industries, it's around improving this, what I said in the beginning, this chatbot experience to provide a better customer service, both in a virtual medium like a chatbot, as well as even the customer service operations, when humans are handling those calls. There are a lot of use cases which I'll just talk about, how even our platform and technology kind of helps the customer service professionals to do their business differently, or rather, in a more productive way, right? So I think most of the use cases are around customer service, and that's what we're going to talk about more today, right? And again, another visual, this is from McKinsey, in terms of what are some of the most common use cases where generative AI is being used. You can see I have highlighted some of them. in green, and right at the top right corner, you can see customer operations, and then, sitting right at the top in terms of this particular technology having an impact on, whether it is the bottom line gains or the way, companies have been leveraging this. So that's one of the reason, why we picked this topic, while we talk about generative AI, right? I mean, we thought, okay, we'll put it together in the context of customer service, and then, show a few use cases around, how this could be leveraged for that particular problem space, right? So some examples around, even when we say customer service, right? It can be both external, not necessarily when someone is calling us, some of our customers are calling. It could even be more from an internal use case perspective as well, right? So say, for example, if it is a HR department, answering, having the need to answer questions on policies, or even the legal departments looking at documents, and then, trying to analyze some of those documents, or even it could even be the operations team internally if they have very large SOPs on business processes, right? This technology, I mean, I'll show it with some examples, could be used as much as for your internal customers, as much as it can be used for even your external facing customers, right? So I think that is something which is very, very essential. Most of the time, when we talk about conversational AI or a chatbot kind of use cases, it need not be external facing all the time. That you do have, I mean, as simple as, say, for example, a very large company providing IT support for its even staff, right? I mean, it could be as simple request as, hey, how do I reset my password, or hey, how do I connect to the Wi-Fi, or whatever. Those simple questions could still be, or rather even, answering questions from your policies, HR policies, with the tax related documents, for especially for new staff and all that, rather than, someone spending time to manually answer those questions. Definitely, a virtual assistant built with generative AI, trained on those corpus of knowledge, right? Definitely could be used even by your internal staff as much as, we talk about, the external facing customer service teams. Um, More than that, I think, this is what I would, even having played with this technology for quite some time, I'll tell you, sometimes, we look at these technologies, especially around AI and all that, with a lot of sophistication, saying, hey, it is maybe, this is something too much hi-fi. There are like, I have to really invest much, and or rather, to find the right problem space and all that. And actually, it is not. There are some very, very simple use cases and quick wins, which could be very much relevant for anybody, any company, anyone, to even get a feel for this technology and see, hey, how this could really benefit me, right? I think that's why I've just listed few very simple use cases, right? Say as simple as, if there are customer service teams, again, all of this I'll just show in a demo very, very soon, right? It could be automatically generating customer replies when customers are asking a question, even before they could, if it takes 2 minutes, or rather, even if it has take 60 seconds for someone to type their answer, even if this technology can pre-generate those responses and save them, even 30 seconds or a minute, 60 seconds, that is a significant amount of time. That's going to give them as much, maybe more time to handle more customers or do something else as well, right? So very simple use cases around, automatic, generating customer replies, and then, assisting agents as they type, it can, that's why I said, as much as these bots helping, your external customers, it can even help your internal agents, as they are assisting, they could use this as a reference, to get the answers, and then, to provide that answer to your customers and all that, right? SOPs and training, especially with new staff, as we bring in more people, how do we really train them instead of them going to a supervisor for every answer? Can they really use a chat GPT like interface, internally, I mean, which is trained on this very large SOP document? Can they really ask that question? Or rather, can it, even if not completely replacing the supervisor, at least can it do 40 to 50% of those questions? Can it really provide the answer and then later taking it to the supervisor and all that, right? So I think there are some very, very simple use cases, even within this agent and chatbot interfaces, which could be of very much relevant, or rather which could be done easily with generative AI. I mean, the last one, again, it's a very good example. Summarization, when you have very, very large documents, we have spoken to, I mean, like few months back, one of the requirement came from a legal team. They were telling us, hey, you know what? Every time, they get a new contract, which is like 50 to 60 pages, all they're looking for is, certain paragraphs or certain sections, with content like, hey, can you tell me the sections, which talks about non-compete clause, right? So it's those kind of, even trying to summarize those documents or locating that, within the document and all that. I think all of those could be very simple or, potential use cases, for generative AI, right? Few examples across the industries. I've just taken few of. I mean, use cases are plenty across many of them. So I've just picked five of them here. Retail. It could be like a virtual shopping assistant. You take the product catalog, and then perhaps using generative AI, this could provide a better recommender, or rather even answer questions on the features or warranty or whatnot, right? I think definitely this technology really helps provide better answers, automated email responses, and if you take hospitality, I mean, answering reservation assistance, all these were very common use cases for chatbots before, right? That's why I'm saying, it's like it's not that the chatbots were not used. I mean, definitely there were a lot of companies, that they were trying out these chatbot use cases on many of these. Now it's just that generative AI, and then it's just making it that much better, or rather, it's making it more relevant, and then, or rather, it helps you to get better experience, a better outcome, to solve these, I mean, different use cases across industries, right? So if you really, I mean, coming back to the topic today, right? I think, if you take a customer experience or customer service experience, you can see it from left to right. I mean, this is how a typical customer service agent, or rather a journey could be, starting from a customer inquiry, right? When someone really reaches out to us, whether it is an internal or an external customer, reaches out to us with a question. It always starts with a question, right? So that could happen through a phone or a chatbot or whatnot. I mean, any collaboration platform, including, by the way, including Teams, Slack, or any messaging platforms, right? All these medium, which we today use for communication, are potentially, interfaces for, for this interface, around generative AI. So it starts with a question or a customer inquiry. So it can happen through an omni-channel interface, like all the ones, which you just mentioned, including a voice service, because, the technology or the transcription technology has evolved. Somebody can just pick up the phone and talk. Still, the answer could come from a generative AI application, but the input could still be a voice application, right? So, and then there is this language understanding stuff, which helps you understand the question, including possibilities for translation. I'll show examples of how we even use, or rather build solutions, which supports multilingual and all that, right? So, and then basically, they have to respond back with answers, right? So, along with that, I mean, that's not how typically or how simple typical customer service journey is. Now, you have a wait, especially in large companies, you have you definitely need to create a support ticket, because we need traceability. We just want to make sure. And then there are also requirements around, measuring the service levels, and then, how much time did it take to serve this particular customer, how many ticket, all of this. So for traceability and audit trail, we need ticket creation and, assignment. It is when it really gets handled by a human, right? So this could be the technology, generative AI, I mean, related technology could help you automate the ticket creation rather than someone manually doing that today, right? It could, definitely do that automatically. It could help you categorize the issues and then, route it based on, if someone is talking about credit card related or mortgage related, it could use that text, and then help categorize the customer service request, including opportunities to automatically route it. And more, the third one is where it could potentially help, or rather help your customer service teams to be more productive. It's around how can it really win. This is, again, I'm sure many of us would have can relate to it. When you call a number, 1-800 number, and talk to somebody, and then when the call gets transferred, definitely invariably you'll be asked, hey, can you repeat it? Why is this? So we may have to restate from the beginning the issues and all that, which is a very, very poor, very painful user experience, right? So all of that, when using technologies like this, it could really help them look at the whole transcript, all the historical conversations on this particular issue, even if it spans through multiple days, right? When rather than them asking, to the need to go through the issue, everything, so this technology, generative AI, could help us summarize, the whole issue. Um, for resolution, it can even help the agent refer to the SOPs, standard operating procedures, and then provide recommendations for the right solution. The response generation, I mean, because if today, if the agent has to type, or has to, even including has to write an email or speak, the generative AI could really help them, generate the response solutions. All these are, so many different ways within the customer experience journey where this technology, generative AI, could help. Including the follow-up, the last one, how I mean, how it can simulate a feedback. Including the performance analysis, the service level, all of those stuff, including if the use agent has really done a new way of solving the problem, going back into the knowledge repo, which could be used by the bot in the subsequent answers and all that, right? So what I have shown here is, if you take a typical customer service journey, there are at various stages in so many different activities. Generative AI could potentially help, right? So that's what let me at this stage, right? I mean, just to break the monotony from the slides, let me show you an example of one of our solution, along with an agent disk, how it really helps, how we leverage generative AI, right? So let me this one. Just give me 1 minute. I have to sign in. Just give me one.
Please post your questions if you have any in the Q&A tab or the chat tab, so that we can respond to that when the speaker is allocating time for that.
By the way, I'll come to this. This is our platform. I'll definitely, explain more on what exactly it is in a bit. But I thought I'll just show an example with the use case, whatever we are talking about, right? So this is, in fact, you can assume this. Let me restart it again. So what you see here, Pepper is the customer-facing chatbot, right? So this is on for a healthcare provider, something with the mock data, which I've just replicated the same thing here, right? And what you see here on the left side, Parrot Disk, this is what your agents, your customer service agents potentially use. So now, I'm just talking, I'm just asking questions around few questions, so the bot is really trying to help me with the answers. I'm just talking about diabetes here and all that, right? So I'm just asking a question. So at the same time, now, I have a question, hey, so I'm just asking a question, and then, so it's going to respond back. It says, but still I'm not convinced. Now I can say that, hey, what, can I really talk to an agent, right? So that's where you can see, this is the screen which your customer service agents could see. It has come to my queue before even joining the conversation, right? Or rather, let me join the conversation. You can see that this is what the customer would see. Now, we are leveraging generative AI here, rather than the agent having the need to scroll through and read all the past instructions, right? So now we have this, our platform kind of helps you with a nice summary. It kind of tells you, hey, this is what you was talking about. And then, so now it provides that much more context for the agent to respond. So now, you can say, hey, so now he starts the communication, and then, so the agent again asks, hey, I mean, so something like that, they just ask, and then, so now what, the, so, it's like, it's just asking, he's just asking, hey, another question, right? So now the agent, instead of typing the answer, what they can do, they can as well, take example from ParrotGPT is a generative AI application. The agent is now asking, hey, can you give me a response? So you can see that I'll talk about, why or how this really helps. So now, ParrotGPT has provided the answer for the agent. Rather than them, typing in all this, they can just take a look at it, review it, and say, add their own stuff, and then saying, hey, hope this helps and all that, right? So the engagement could go like this, and you can see both the customer support agent as well as the customer actually benefiting from a use case like this. And then, of course, the platform has various other things, like a video call, emails, and all that. If this is something, if they are not the right person to add it, I mean, they can always sign the transfer the call to somebody else, and so many other things, can happen. And say for example, after this, the whole engagement finished, and then, so they can just leave here. It goes to the customer. At the end of the transaction, we have this option to do an NPS or a CSAT. All of that happens just like any other customer service engagement here, right? So now, what I really wanted to highlight here was a few things. Just going back to the various activities I was just telling you, you could see that definitely that input was an omni-channel. It's even though it was a chatbot, like what you have here, right? This could potentially be a telephone call. It could be a 1-800 number, or the same Pepper bot could be made available in Teams or Slack or any collaboration platform. See, I think that's what our platform supports. It is truly omni-channel. I mean, by the way, it can support voice as well, right? And there are certain stuff, I was telling you about how during the resolution process, the bot was not just helping the customer, the end user with some answers, how it was even being leveraged by the internal agents, right? I think ultimately the idea is to how can this technology really help them to be more productive, if for them to either read the conversation or this whole interaction, if it took them on an average, say 4 minutes, or I'm just picking up a number, 3 to 4 minutes, using technology like this, including generating the summary to getting some answers and then, responding back. Definitely, there is an opportunity, as I said, 30 to 40% of the time, it could really help the agents to be more productive. And more than that, I think, it's not just about the productivity gain. Think about the other factors. One, definitely, the Parrot GPT or the bot is able to provide that answer to the agent. Now, one of the common misgivings, or rather, the short, I wouldn't call it as a shortcoming, or rather, the gotchas around generative AIs with hallucinations. Those responses, how much are they trustworthy, especially in scenarios like this, when we are talking about healthcare? Now, you really have a human in the middle, which is the best thing to have. While the chat GPT output was, it was, taken by the agent, they have an option to modify it, validate it before that response even goes to the end user, right? I think these are all very, very good value additions towards, improving the customer service, where it's not just blindly giving up answer, when they are responding to the customer requests, right? So one is definitely they have a faster way to get the response, faster way to get a summary and all that. Plus, you also have the added trust factor. There is a human who's able to validate those answers and ensures, that the correct response really goes to the customer and all that, right? So that's why I thought I'll just show at this time, I'll show that demo in terms of how generative AI, it's not just used as a chatbot, for the customer. It is also being used by, the internal agents. I mean, that was just one example, I thought I'll mention, right? Another flow here. This is something, which we've done. It's if you really take, I know it's a bit, I hope it's a bit not readable, but perhaps, we'll share these presentations at the end of this, right? So it's usually, if you see the different layers in terms of the customer interaction, the channels they use, where generative AI really helps in, what you see in those middle ones, it's like including your ability to get the standard responses, performing tasks like summarization, automatic response generation, and then call routing and all that. I think that's where generative AI is increasingly being used within customer service operations today, right? Between the customer facing omni channels, and then you have these human agents sitting on the other side. Generative AI comes very much, in the middle to automate many of those tasks, which I just was talking about, in the previous slide. So this is one such, example for online reservations. So similarly, this is again something more on the insurance side. When someone has a question on insurance, say it could even be like a claim, right? Filing an insurance claim and all that. If there are questions on, hey, am I really covered for that, right? When the call really comes to the human agent, I mean, how do they even answer? The way normally it happens is, they will look at the policy document and all. Now, the document analysis, getting a response and all that could be made much, much better, with generative AI related technologies, right? So this is again another, I'm sorry, it's not that readable, but the flow is more around, how do we put generative AI in the middle of this whole cycle, and then, so that this whole customer experience, a customer support journey becomes that much more, better, right? So again, as I said, if we have to summarize three major use cases, one is, the smart assistants or the chatbots. Again, let me reiterate it. When we are talking about chatbots, it's not necessarily your external customers, as much as even your internal users and customers could as much benefit from this, right? I gave quite a few use cases around, answering questions on HR policies, legal documents, standard operating procedures, anything, onboarding new employees, all of that. A buddy or a virtual analyst, could really help, right? And then text processing, a lot of use cases we just saw, summarizing, the response generation, and all that, right? And the business process automation, I'll show you another example, in a bit, in terms of how it can even be used for business process automation. When we're saying it is not just about textual response, it could even be business transactions. It could be providing answers around, bank balances, mortgage amounts, anything, which is like more personalized or specific to a customer. How this technology could really help even, in automating some of those business processes as well. I'll just show another example very soon. So with that context on how generative AI could be used, for customer service, right? So I just thought I'll just quickly introduce you to our platform. It's called ParrotGPT, and basically it is a low-code platform which helps you build an application like whatever I just showed you. Including the agent desk versus the omni-channel conversational interface. You can build something like that without writing a single line of code. I think that's what this platform, the Parrot suite of platform, really helps you do that. I'll just quickly show you how that's being done. But the goal is very, very simple. How do we let our customers um, try or get a generative AI application built in a very, very short period of time, right? So that's the ultimate goal. And wherever possible, we are trying to help them with, with a low code solution, which so that, it just, you get many other things out of the box, right? So if I have to summarize the benefit of Parrot Studio, the Parrot GPT interface, it's something like this, right? So say imagine you can launch a generative AI powered app in less than 5 minutes using a low code interface, an app that can answer questions. So many things, which what we really expect from a customer service or a chatbot solution. Imagine, you can do all of this without writing a single line of code. That's what Parrot GPT really helps you achieve that, right? Um, Again, I've just tried to highlight some of the features, what you see on the right side, generative AI capabilities, including private LLMs. I think, these are very, very, I wouldn't call it as LLM. It's more of, having your own RAG models. There is a lot of concern around privacy, whether my own, even if I put my data, how much of it would it go out, how much of it stays in the, so all these are very, very valid, very important design considerations. So which again, Parrot helps you solve that, as much as providing the ability to leverage, from an option of LLMs, like whether it is OpenAI, Microsoft, OpenAI, or anything, Mistral, Kobe, anything, you can just pick. But at the same time, giving you the option, to take care of privacy and all of that as well. So all those options, sets are available. I'll just quickly show that in the application. The third one, recipes are very, very important. At the end of the day, it's not just about providing the answers. Your customers come to us, the customer service journey very much contains, business processes. When someone wants to open an account or check a credit card balance, make a payment, whatnot, or file an insurance claim, anything. All of these are really business transactions. How much of this could be done or automated using generative AI? That is also something which is very, very essential, right? So this is at a very high level, this is the platform suite. You can see there are two major ones, the omni-channel bots, which I just showed you, the Pepper and all that. And then, you had the agent, Copilot agent desk, which we have. Both these platforms are built using, what you see on the right, the Parrot Studio. That is the low code platform. So using this platform, you kind of build an application like what you see on the left side, but the omni-channel bots and then, the agent desk. Um, so there are a few options, very, very simple, in terms of a very simple agent where you have something like a bot. All you imagine, if there is no agent support is there, the very simple one is having a bot like this, which can be deployed on your website or anything, right? Or a combination. The bot could be done in two ways as well. The traditional chatbots answering questions out of FAQs and all that, or you can have generative AI based, very large documents, your internal SharePoint content, wiki, Confluence, whatnot, any content, PDFs, manuals, all those could be used as a source, to build the RAG models for the LLM to operate, and then, it can respond back. With human escalation, I just showed an example. The human escalation is nothing but the agent desk, where the it's not just the bot responding. Your customers also have an option to talk to a human agent, right? Plus business integrations. I mean, it's not just about answering questions. I'll again show an example very quickly. It's around how do we leverage this technology to even complete business transactions. And of course, there are, as I said, any channel which is used for collaboration, or communication using a chat or a voice interface can be used as a channel for these applications like Teams, Slack, phone, any messaging platforms. All of that, could be used for as an interface, right? Um, what are some of the agent related capabilities, which we cover in, it's around answering customer queries, fix customer problems, co-browsing solution, you can do screen share. All of those things are possible, within the agent desk app, which I just showed you, taking video calls, handing off to another agents, managing the workload for the supervisors, all that, say, which you normally see in any customer service platforms, like, whether it is Zendesk, LivePerson, or any of those. All of that, you can do that in Parrot desk as well, right? Including there is a whole bunch of post-service, stuff, including different analytics, service level management, quality scorecards, and all that, right? So I'll just skip this. There are a few use cases. So let me just quickly show you how this whole thing works. So it's so this is where it starts. So the Parrot Studio, this is the low code interface I was telling you. All it does is, you can just go and create an application like this. So let me just create, I'm just creating one. If I want, I can just make it multilingual, support different languages, whatnot. And then very simple, it takes you to a designer like this. You can see there are data collection modules. If you really want to use it to use the bot to to run it like and collect input from your users and all that. Or there are various ways in which it can respond text, multimedia, and all that. And then this is what I was telling you. There is a whole bunch of recipes which you can integrate. I've just listed few. I think that's what I guess my ID is configured with, but there are like hundreds of business integrations, which are available. So any kind of CRM modules from here, capturing the leads to anything. So there is a whole bunch of recipes, which are available. Or I'll just quickly show you for this demo, right? So say, for example, if I want to create a bot, say with some very simple, I can either upload whole bunch of PDFs or any websites it can track. So for this sake, let me just, okay, I just have a few PDFs here, and it just goes. That's all it takes, just few clicks. You will have an application. So it's under processing. This will take literally about few minutes to complete, right? While while it's doing that, let me just show you something which I just did just few minutes back before this. So once you have the content, it's really used to build the RAG models and all. Here's a whole bunch of customizations you can do, including you can pick, hey, what is your OpenAI AI engine? It could be Parrot, OpenAI, Microsoft. There is a whole bunch of stuff, you can use. If you already have an OpenAI license, we could use that. You can pick the GPT versions. And if you really want an agent escalation and how many, all these are different, as I said, when I already created it to support Spanish and Arabic. You can pick the channels where it wants. You can customize the appearance of it. If you want, you can change the name. All of this happens through this interface. That's what I have done. So once it's have this application, it's just few lines of JavaScript code which you can integrate it within your website or wherever it is. That's all, absolutely, that's all it takes. So now I go here, yeah, that is at 55%. Say, for example, I can just go and say, hey, this is this one was a bot, which was built on an SOP for a insurance application, right? So I can just go and ask something like, hey, so it's just going to respond back an interface, which is similar to whoever has used ChatGPT, right? So this is another interface. I mean, while we saw the bot interface there, this is just another interface, which you can just, again, completely white labeled. You can build it the way this application, whatever you just saw there was the one, which just got built. Or, you can launch it like the regular bot, just like, how it's here, so it's like the same thing, same kind of questions in a different interface, it just gets built here, and here's your generative AI bot, right? So that's what the Parrot Studio application kind of helps you, for you to build a generative AI application in without writing code in just like few very, very simple steps. And of course, when you go here, you have the designer to add even lot more business capabilities. I mean, so many things you can do. You can build escalations to, you can just customize the responses, whether you want it as a multimedia, all those customizations, you can do, with this interface. Basically, our goal is more around, how can someone build a generative AI application without writing code, right? So that's what Parrot Studio kind of does, right? Um, Once you have done something like that, I also mentioned, one use case around the business processes, right? Let me just show you another example here. So let me start from right. So this is another use case, or rather, one of the sample applications, it's based on which we built for another, insurance customer of ours, right? So, by the way, the one which I just built a few minutes back, it is complete, and the one, the application, it's called Leo. It is just now complete. I can just go and pick a different color, and there you go. That application is now ready. I can go and use this, and yeah, it's a same thing. I can just ask questions. Um, it's going to respond back. As simple as that. That's all it takes for anybody to build a brand new generative AI application, which is your completely white labeled with your branding, your name, your content. All it takes is just 5 minutes, right? But even though, what I'm really trying to show here is making it so simple. In an ideal scenario, when we really go to a customer place, some of those documents for us to build it. I mean, very hundreds of pages, thousands of, it just takes, at least you don't have to write any code, but at least, it just takes a little more time for you to deploy it and all of that. How do we even integrate this with any of your, other web applications and all that. But from our side, at least it's just few lines of JavaScript code. Whatever you build using this interface, as quickly as possible, you can just get an application up and running, right? So that was on this. So coming back to this, another use case around business integrations, right? So in this case, Holly does quite a bit. It's more of it was for an insurance customer, trying to get something around plan eligibility, which is used by some of their customers. So they can just go here and then say something like, hey, it starts with, you can even see examples of how for secure information, we integrate multi-factor authentication and all that, right? So it just says, hey, can I have your employee ID? So we have some mock data here. So let me just, and then now, it's going to ask me for validation, with a two-factor authentication. It just asked me for, so I'm just going to put it here. Now, it has authenticated me. So it knows who I am. And then I can just ask a question on, hey, so I'm just asking a question, whatever I might ask, when I call a 1-800 number or somebody, right? So it's just going to give me, hey, what, based on the provided data, all this, it says, I'm not eligible, and then it gives me information which is specific to me. So this is where you can see the answer is not just information. This is basically a business transaction. So now I can just ask, hey, oops, I mean, it is completely free format English. Our NLU module kind of takes care of it. It is absolutely, you can even see the response, how it comes back in pure, very good English terms in terms, hey, you need to work 158 based on whatever I just asked. Right? I think very, very sound, I think the language understanding module, which we have, it's pure, just free format English. It will be able to support. And then I can even say, um, I mean, I can just, so it's just going to give me, respond back to me, in some of those, the next eligible plan is available from all of this, just helps in. But I just wanted to give another example, in terms of how you can even use this, like what we saw here, responding back from content and, documents, how you can even use a similar interface, to do business transactions, right? I think that is extremely, extremely important. At the end of the day, the main reason customers, come to us, it's not just for information. There is also a lot of questions around completing a business task, right? So something like this. So this something like this could even be used internally, right? That could be questions on, say, the health insurance policy or your 401k plans, which your employees might have. All of that could potentially be done by and say internal bot like this. And of course, you can build something like that in very less time, using Parrot, right? So those are all, again, going back to all the examples, the one, with Pepper answering questions, along with, how an agent could also benefit, to provide those answers, versus building a bot application like this, from scratch using Parrot Studio. Another example of, how you could have an application, a bot performs, so something more around a business transaction, right? All of these are different use cases, which it's all, which you could get done, with Parrot Studio interface here, right? So now coming back, just a little bit of technology for people. It's what we really use underneath this or RAG models on the content, and at a very high level, this is what it does. You see at the top the various knowledge sources. I built a bot using a PDF, but it could be anything. It could be your surveys, it could be your application sources, any data sets, any internal knowledge repositories, could be used to train the models. And then basically all it does is, you establish data pipelines, it builds an embedding model. And again, these, your basic model, it could be whether it is OpenAI or, we provide a wide variety of choices, and including the option to make it run within your firewall so that nothing goes out, and then with all the concerns or rather guardrails around privacy and security and all that, right? So basically, this is what we do. And so the application, what you see in the middle, the Parrot Studio interface, kind of takes care of your customer service application for as an omni-channel interface. The agent desk, which I just showed you here, the agent desk part, where which is would be used by your customer support teams, right? All of that, including a little bit of more on technology on how we really handle it. All of this, it's pretty much taken care of by Parrot Studio. And what you really get is, you provide these as inputs, including some of the your integrations. It could be your own CRM solutions, it could be your own business applications. You integrate them through APIs, REST APIs, or other methods. And what you really get is the agent desk as well as the omni-channel interfaces, right? Completely flexible deployment. We can host it in our own secure cloud, or very large enterprises, we bring our software, it runs within your firewall. So both the on-premise installations as well as even hosted solutions are available, right? Um, Very simple. I just have two, three more slides, just before I complete. Anything, before we start, even think about a generative AI, very simple steps in terms of how you could approach this, starting from a use case to the data source or the knowledge. And then, definitely number three, security is very, very important. Being very much aware of what really, what LLM models do you use, what really would go out, what should not go out, and all that, the LLM choice. And even internally, the number five, six, and seven, it kind of helps you tune the models, to achieve better results and all that. Those are very, very important. Six, the deployment. Where do you want to deploy this? Of course, we do provide a very secure hosted solution as well. What is the right channel? Do you really want this in your Microsoft Teams? If you're already using Teams, why can't we use Teams as a channel rather than another web application? Or the most common one, integrate this within your website or even your intranet sites, right? So in summary, this is more around generative AI. I think definitely the ROIs are real, but I think, smaller steps for you to even take, see the results, picking the right use case is extremely, important. Very common use cases are, to begin with, as I said, a better version of a chatbot with human escalation, making it omni-channel, providing more than one option. At least now, you have that ability to provide it and try of other use cases, not just the chatbot. Right, you can always use cases around summarization and all that, right? And just a simple recommended approach, which we normally tell our customers in terms of how to go about rather, getting it done. And that's about it. I think, just 3 minutes or time, but I hope it was useful. Bharat, any questions?
No questions as yet, Shiva.
Okay. So let us know. Definitely, we do provide if there is a more detailed follow-up required, or if you really want to work with us on a use case suggestion or even a deep dive or a POCs, we'd be more than happy to help. We will share these presentations, and again, feel free. Any questions, I can take it. Otherwise, again, I hope it was useful. Um, Feel free to reach out to us even after this discussion.
No questions yet. Please send your queries or questions or any inquiries to hello@purpleslate.com. We'll be happy to build custom POCs for you and help you understand this product better. Since there are no questions currently, we will be ending this discussion now. Thank you. Thank you all for participating.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good day, good evening, wherever you are from. Thanks for your time today. Hope it was useful.